since all of us kind of have our own businesses, if each of us could maybe highlight one challenge we've encountered, like an example of a challenge that I think Diverses has, is that the approach I'm proposing is so radically different from how most people approach it. So there's the poetry system that we've talked a lot about. You know, it's traditional route, publications, credential building, whether that's through degrees or publications or both. There's a specific route you go with: grant funding or nonprofit organization funding. The idea of using poetry to create business around, you know, solving pain points, going out there, finding people to help individually on my own basis without, you know, turning to larger organizations, is a very new concept for poets.
Yeah.
And getting people comfortable with that deviation is a challenge, because anytime you are proposing something that's not even necessarily like overthrowing the system, but like, you know, it's adjacent with it enough that it's going to take time for people to get comfortable with it.
Yeah, well, because people are already comfortable now, so they're like, man, would you want me to transition over to this thing? Yeah.
Yeah, they're comfortable now, even though like you look at what they're doing and it's like, you're comfortable with crumbs. Like you're
yeah, well, that's it. Like you can be comfortable in being like a really bad situation, but it's just like, I am used to it though. So like, I think a lot of people aren't used to even the thought that like, this is not how being a poet has to be. Like, this is not how, I don't have to be, you know, subject to whoever is on the reviewing committee for my work.
Like the idea of a poet having a poetry space for poetry. What? Well, you're getting grant funding, right? What? You're not? What? Yeah. Like, it's just using your own money. Like, you're learning about how, like, businesses work. You're learning about, like, tax stuff. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
and also, I think it forces people to really think about poetry as, like, less as a leisure and more of, like, an actual fixture in their life in some way. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody told you, like, I have an art space that's just for painting and we're only doing painting here, I'm like, yeah, but it's because if I walk into a bank tomorrow, there's a painting on the wall. You know what I mean? If I walk into McDonald's, they probably have some art or something like that. So it's like, people, I think a lot of people, it's just harder for them to like really see the fixture that poetry has in their life to a degree that like now they're like, I don't see the reason for like permanence like in like a space like this.
But that's a challenge, I think, if you're creating a creative business, is especially in an area like poetry where not many poets are doing that. You know, when you do something that's new enough, people get nervous.
So I think on the challenge, on challenge basis, I think one of the biggest things is that a lot of the projects that I do are creative endeavors and not like functionary, like principled shoots. And the biggest difference that means is that, you know, it's really about like how familiar other people are with like how to shoot a film or like how to shoot their idea. Because if somebody I had a recent experience where we initially sat down and we were discussing a 15-minute short film, and I'm like, okay, like as soon as you tell me a 15-minute short film, I know like 10 other questions to ask. You know what I mean? And then in a later meeting, we're actually in a like separate meeting, and they're like, yeah, and I was thinking the film could be like 30 to 45 minutes. And I'm like, that's not a 15-minute short film. Like these are completely different things. And mind you, we were talking about the same script. So I'm like, this script cannot both be 15 minutes and 30 minutes. And it certainly can't be both 15 minutes and 45 minutes. And so I think a lot of times we are like, there's like some education that I have to have with like the client. And then it's also, you know, we're also dealing with artists. And I'm not saying like artists are always like, you know, disheveled and like late and stuff like that. But it's also like a lot of artists have just never taken what they're doing so seriously that like they're like, if somebody told you, okay, you have to be at your job at Chipotle at 8:30, like they would be there at 8:30. But because it's like their project, they're like, people are like, oh yeah, I kind of show up when I can and when I want. So it's like you're dealing with that a lot, because I'm like, if this was if you just hired me for the day, that's a different price. But then it's like, then I don't, maybe my entire day is this, so I don't care when you come in. Like, it's up to you. But if you're like, we're only here for 3 to 4 hours, then I'm like, oh, I very much care, because I'm like, I have to lock this in. So there's that. Like, again, it's just really people, like kind of dealing with people and dealing with like creative processes, because
anything for Chet's business stuff?
I think so. And this is we've had coaches in schools for maybe this is our fifth year, and we've grown every year since we started, almost like doubled. And so at this point, we do have more schools who want coaches, but because most of the clubs meet around lunchtime, it's the challenge of finding coaches. So we do have a few schools on the wait list. And so coming probably this winter, I'm going to start to do more recruiting. And so figuring out, how to put job applications out and screen people and interviews in order to meet the need.
Screening people is huge, because you're working with kids in school.
Oh yeah, we have our background check system, and then also being able to fund that as well, because most of our what we get from tournaments will go towards our programming, and that the more schools we have, the more it'll cost to run the programs. And so another challenge is to, I think, grow big enough that people will have heard of us and be willing to invest, because we did write some grants, especially in the past, but this year, I don't know if it's because of the economy or whatnot, but we haven't gotten nearly as many as we have in the past.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And so that's why looking for sponsors is a new thing I'm doing this year too.
Are you comfortable talking numbers at all?
Like,
Do you know
yeah,
numbers?
give me some questions.
like could you compare grants from previous years versus this year?
Yeah. Well, so last year we got a $7,000 grant for our women and girls programming, but there were a lot more grant applicants this year, and because we got a pretty big one this year, we didn't get anything for that, But we're able to use a lot of that money for things for our girls and women's, which were, I wouldn't say necessary for just like a meetup. So our costs this year are a lot less, because we're still gonna do the programming, but it's gonna be a lot less than before. Yeah.